demonstration is going to cover the topics of insert and delete when it comes to inserting records into a table and then potentially having to delete them. So we're back at the Northwind Traders database, and on the right here you can see that I still have the schema up, and to the left I have the Postgres pgadmin 3 window up, and I want to demonstrate how you would insert data into the database. Now I know we saw the script that loaded everything into the database, and there were a number of insert statements in there, but we never really talked about exactly how that was working. So to do that, I'm going to open up the SQL query window, and we're going to use the shippers table, which is this one right here. The shippers table is a good one to use simply because it doesn't have a lot of attributes, but it's got just enough to be able to demonstrate how the insert and delete might work. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to look inside the shippers table and see what's already there. So I'm going to do a select star from shippers semicolon. And so this is my SQL statement to look at what's in there. So if I execute it, we get some data. So there's 6 records currently in the shippers table. There's and we decided that the United States Postal Service is another one that we would really like to add to this shipper list, because they now deliver 7 days a week for packages. So to do that, I'm going to actually leave, so I'm also demonstrating this technique as well in the editor, but I'm going to leave the select star statement there. And since it's followed by a semicolon, which is right here, I don't have to worry. I mean, it'll execute this, but I'll show you another trick in the editor that you can use so you can save a lot of your previous queries. One easy way is to just use this drop down in the previous queries, and it will remember a lot of what you've done, but this is another more repeatable way, so you can actually save this to a text file so that you know what work you've done. Anyway, so I'm going to insert USPS as a new shipping company that Northwind Traders is going to be doing business with. So if I look down into the output here, this can quickly just give me a very quick view of what the data types are that are already defined. So here I can see that the shipper ID is actually just a small, it's not, it doesn't appear to be auto-numbered by any stretch. So I'm probably just going to generate my own ID. Now, there's a lot of risk in doing this, and we'll talk about that risk once we've gone through some of the basic steps. So I am going to start off by using a command or a keyword called insert. So if I'm going to insert, I need to insert into something, and the into piece is the table name. So in our case, it would be shippers. So insert into shippers. And now I can do one of two things actually. So if I put nothing after shippers, and I don't tell it which attributes I'm inserting, then it assumes that I'm going to insert all the attributes in the order that they appear in the database, which means I would do the shipper ID first, then the company name, and then the phone. It's probably good practice to actually just put those attribute names in the insert statement. So if I'm going to insert into shippers, I'm going to insert a shipper ID. I'm going to insert a company name, and I'm going to insert a phone number. And those are all inside of parentheses. Now that I have the the attributes defined, now I just need to say what values I'm going to put in. So to do that, I simply follow with values, the keyword values, and in parentheses again, I actually just put the values. So if it's an integer, or small int in this case, I can just put the number. So I'm going to put a 7 because that appears to be the next consecutive number in this list. The company name needs to be in single quotes, USPS. And the phone number is also a character type. And varying just means that it just tells the database that it can allocate the memory dynamically. So because the data could be short or it could be long but it will be no longer than 24 characters. So the phone, I'm just going to put in 603-555-1212, and then I end my parentheses, and I put a semicolon to say this is the end of my statement. Now if I just hit the execute button here, it would execute the select statement again, and then it would execute the insert into. If I just want to execute this statement, I highlight it, and then I hit the execute button. Now there will be a message displayed, and the message in this case says 1 row affected, and it was successful. So I should see another column now, another record entered into the database, into the shippers table for USPS, and I can check by, again, selecting the query I want to execute and then clicking the execute button. And there it is, USPS, and everything got entered. Now, to delete the data, I do something somewhat similar, but not quite, similar to select anyway. I'll say, use the keyword delete from, and I give it a table name, and in our case it's shippers. Now I can't just do delete from shippers because that will more than likely give me an error, and let's try it and see. Oh, well, in the case of Postgres, it actually just goes ahead and deletes everything. So now we have nothing in shippers. So if I do a select star from shippers here, there's nothing. I mean, the table's still there, but there's no data. So if I don't specify a where clause, and this is different depending on what database you're in, but apparently in the case of Postgres, if you do not specify a where clause or a condition, it will just go ahead and assume that you want to delete everything. So be careful. That is my word to the wise here. Okay, how do we get that back? Well, we can get it back just by going back to our scripts that we use to create the data. And I'm going to bring that script up momentarily. And we'll find the piece of the script that we would need to actually regenerate that file. So here's our script right here. I just brought it up in a different, just in my text editor. And we'll go to the shipping where we actually load the shipping data. So here we're loading category data. Here we are loading customer data, employee data, order detail data, and we're getting closer because I believe this is alphabetical. Let me hit page down here, and we should get the shipping. This is the order data, products data, and here we are, shippers. So what I can do is just copy this and paste it back in. And this is actually why having scripts is so valuable and storing them in script files, because you can go and you can get the data back, and you can get it back reliably. In other words, if I reran this entire script I could recreate the exact same database over and over and over again, and I could mess up the database as much as I wanted to, and it wouldn't matter because I would be able to recreate it. So let's just fix this problem by executing these commands. And you can see it says one row affected, and that's simply because it's just showing you the message from the last command it executed. And then actually let's execute this last one as well, just so we have that in the database. So now we should have all our data back. And there it is. So now let's try to delete the right way. So delete from shippers where, and let's say we'll use the shipper ID, where the shipper ID is equal to 7. And we don't need it in quotes because it is an integer. So now if I select that and run it, it should say one row affected. And there it is. And now if I go and list everything, we see that that record is removed.